This is Wandering Universe. Today, I'll be exploring an incredible and sophisticated stone structure situated at an historic ancient city, the Obelisks at Karnak. So, let's go exploring. Here we are. This is one of them on one side of the area. This is another viewpoint of the obelisks right here in some rundown courtyard. And this is another viewpoint right here on the other side of the structure right here. So let's get right into it. The name Karnak was known as the Temple of Light, a once thriving and prosperous ancient city that once known as Ibit Itsut, meaning most divine of places. This ancient town is situated in Luxor, which housed an ancient cult that worshipped Amun-Ra, a glorified sun god. Within the courtyard area, only 2 obelisks are left standing today. Now, I'll just show you, as you can see right here. I'm not sure why there's only 2 left standing today, but I'll get into that in a moment. It's a shame, actually. I expected more. But if that's the only 2 left, well, it begs to differ. And here's the other side of the courtyard right here. Huge structures, may I say. The Hatshepsut obelisk, standing left on screen, was erected in dedication to her during her reign, 1479 to 1458 BC. The dimensions of this structure are 97 feet in height and weighs 323 tons. The Thutmose I obelisk, standing right on screen, was erected to honour Thutmose I during his reign from 1520 to 1492 BC. The dimensions of the structure are 65 feet, so it's slightly shorter in height, and weighs 143 tons, so slightly lighter than the Hatshepsut one. According to archaeologists, the age of the Hatshepsut obelisk is estimated to be around 3,500 years old. Both are made from solid red granite that was shaped with precision and polished to a high degree from the Aswan quarry. There used to be another obelisk that once stood on the Karnak grounds but was transported to Paris during the mid-1800s as a showpiece to the masses. It was erected and dedicated to Thutmose III. This one is slightly shorter than the Hatshepsut obelisk. Now I'll show you a photo of what I mean. So this is the Hatshepsut one, that's the Thutmose one. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is the one that was erected in Paris. If you go to my previous videos, especially the one on the unfinished obelisk should I say, I talked about the journey from Alexandria to Paris, how the obelisk was transported. Not sure if it was in one piece. It could have been cut into 3 pieces. They could have cut the top off, they could have cut the bottom section off, and then carried it in 3 sections, transported it, and then maneuvered it with great difficulty to hoist it, lever it, center it, and place it on the standing stone block in Paris. So this is the one that was originally from Luxor. A twin obelisk was found that had fallen under weird and suspicious circumstances whilst it lies on the ground permanently today. And this is what I mean. This particular obelisk. Now, was it purposely fallen to the ground, or was it carefully laid on the ground because back then they were actually busy finishing the production line of these obelisks, as you can see right here. So that's interesting to note that actually. A very long time ago, there were several obelisks that stood within the Karnak Palace grounds. Now, here's one. This particular obelisk. Now, was it purposely fallen to the ground, or was it carefully laid on the ground because back then they were actually busy finishing the production line of these obelisks, as you can see right here. So that's interesting to note that actually. A very long time ago, there were several obelisks that stood within the Karnak Palace grounds. Now, here's one. This one was transported to be stood on a stone base in Central Park. I'm not sure if it's still there today in New York. If anybody has been to New York over the last few years and have been to Central Park to view this obelisk and it's still there, please let me know in the comments section. The next one is called Cleopatra's Needle. I'm not sure where this is situated. Please let me know in the comments section. And this one is situated in Heliopolis in Lebanon. And I bet they used really rough ropes, possibly hemp ropes, that left indented abrasion marks right here. You can see quite a sharp depression on the one side edge of this obelisk there. So pretty, yeah, harsh job. Not a very, damn it, they wrecked the bloody thing. I don't know why they did it so cheap, the construction method, but anyway, that's how they did it. According to the story written in hieroglyphics, it took 7 months to shape it to precision using primitive tools such as wooden mallets and bronze chisels, polished the surface of the pylon using rocks and sand stuck under a wooden pallet. Now, I talked about this in the unfinished obelisk at Aswan. You can refer the information about the dolerite rocks in the video. I question this. It's not that strong. It's not that effectively usable. A wooden mallet to chisel hard red granite. I question that. And these are some of the tools that they use to chisel it down. I'm not sure why they're still sticking to this conventional belief. But anyway, let's go on. After it was transported from the 252-kilometre quarry, a 4.5-hour drive, easier said than done back then, using wooden sleds, rollers and ropes, employing 1,000 men to pull, shove, and get this, move this giant 323-ton obelisk all the way to the Karnak grounds. Let me show you how heavy this baby is. You see what I mean? Do you really think so? If you don't think so, refer to my video in the unfinished obelisk and you'll see what I mean, even using today's modern machinery to move one 340-ton stone block. You'll see what I mean. Try and move this in one go using modern machinery. Try. Now, here's the juicy bit. Then they hauled the giant pylon onto a wooden boat, sailed at their own peril all the way to the banks of the Nile. Upon arrival to Luxor from the dockside of the Nile, it was then pulled and hauled all the way to Luxor with sheer stamina under the burning hot sun. Allow this diagram to demonstrate. This diagram is just illustrates a digital diagram illustrating an impression of how it was done back then. First step is you lie the obelisk horizontal along the canal. Then you move the barge underneath the obelisk into the canal opening. Then on the third step, or should I say step number 3, is you move, I'm not sure how, clockwise the obelisk onto the barge using I don't know what. And then fourth, once it's all done and completed, after a tiring day's work, you then very easily and undoubtedly slide the barge out of the canal and sail it off onto its journey to Karnak. But get this. A huge ramp was constructed to accommodate the giant red granite pylon using, once again, wooden rollers and sleds, you guessed it, very slowly and fastidiously move the object on a slope all the way to the top edge of the sandhill. With their fingers crossed and their bodies on the line, they let it fall into place to the bottom of the pit, to gently land softly on the stone base, allowing gravity to do the work. Now, this is a comparison impression. This is a digital impression of how they did it, to move one stone block along these steps and using this ramp along the side of the pyramid to slot one stone block into place. So this is just a comparison on how they actually moved in a similar fashion the obelisk up this particular type of ramp. Now, who would have guessed? What do they know about gravity back then? I mean, did they know anything about the laws of physics? I don't know. You tell me. This claim is widely disputed, as it cannot be proven those were the construction techniques used for its time. I talked about this theory in a previous video on the unfinished obelisk, about how they used this ancient construction technique and other types of primitive tools they used to move and hoist and level the obelisk. But if you want me to explain it again, let's recap. How is it possible, using primitive technology applied to shaping, polishing, and inscribing with precision an obelisk without creating a margin of error? There are several assuming and crazy drop-of-a-hat theories that have made me wonder, how can it be possible we built them? Here's one theory, and it goes something like this. This diagram explains it all. Needn't I say more? If you want to listen to what I've said in the previous video, please go ahead and do so. Otherwise, as you can see, this is the sand pit, okay? And do you think for 1 minute using gravity, just gravity alone, to just center it dead on center perfectly like that? I don't think so. The width of the ramp must be 6 meters wide to accommodate the pulling of the obelisk. Then let gravity, once again, fall over of the 45-degree slope, and good luck if it lands perfectly dead center onto the stone base. I'm scratching my head over this. I really am. I'm thinking, how can it be possible back then using sand? Sand is not doable. It can solidify when you mix it with water. But once it dries on the hot blazing sun, it collapses in a heap. It just goes back to little granules. How can it be possible? How can this last that long in the sun? I mean, it looks like a sandcastle by a beachside, but in all honesty, it's just not plausible. It just isn't. Now, here's a demonstration. As you can see, step 1, okay, roll it up the sand pit. As you can see, the sand ramp, right? Steady and carefully. Boy, look how many men they used. Okay, now, look at these little wooden rollers, right? Ooh, look at this. Ooh, there she goes. Ooh, it's over the edge there. Ooh, is it going to tip? Is it going to tumble? What's it going to do? Ooh, step number 3. Look. They're going to put men on the other side. Ah, how ingenious. Let men tug a rope on the other side. Right here. And look. Oh my God, it's tipping over the edge right there. Look at that. Oh, geez, letting gravity defying gravity right there, tipping over the edge. Oh, is it going to tumble? Is it going to fall? Is it going to crack? Is it going to land in a heap? No, it slides along carefully, miraculously, just like magic, waving a magic wand. Oh, they had Amun-Ra to help them out, didn't they? And look at that. Voila, perfectly dead on center, just by using this technique. Come on. Let's set aside their claims for a moment and see it from a valid, practical point of view, shall we? You need a stone or wood to build a very large ramp, and that will take several months of hard labour. Once that's done, then employ thousands of men to move the pylon up along the slope using ropes and wooden rollers to pull it out once it gets to the bottom edge. Level it, center it dead on, and hope to Buddha that it'll stand steady without leaning to one side. Then you dismantle the huge ramp, go back to step 1 and repeat the whole process by just using primitive tools alone to do this stunt. Seriously? Who's telling the truth, eh? Allow this to demonstrate. Needn't I say more? You can figure this out for yourself. I'm not going to go on. And by the way, the ropes would have left abrasion marks along the side walls of the obelisks. Each obelisk must sit on a rock-solid stone base, dead on, flat base, no debris or earth like dust or soil to obstruct it out of balance even by a millimetre. Okay? Remember that. This is a modern method of centering an obelisk. This photo is a team of expert engineers moving a Museo del Sannino obelisk in LA. They are reinstalling the obelisk ready for the gallery presentation. This is what they're doing right here using modern technology. This is how they do it. With modern technology, it must be perfectly flat, level and smooth base at a perfect 90-degree right angle to hold the 323-ton obelisk in place. It must be absolutely dead on centered, otherwise it will lean over like the Tower of Pisa. And it's true. And any engineer will tell you that. Even these guys right here. They will tell you that. It takes forever to really get it precise. Show you what I mean. Imagine, and it's just, I'd laugh at this. Imagine if you saw one of the obelisks in Egypt looking like this, right? It's just a sitcom, really. I mean, you could just, do a TV show out of this. It means that whoever centered it weren't very smart people, weren't they? Okay, and don't forget, all sides must be equally symmetrical. If one side is greater than the other, it will cause an offset in the center of gravity. And here's an example right there. Okay, so just imagine if this obelisk was leaning to one side. I'd laugh. Seriously, it'd be hilarious. It would be deemed useless. So this is what I mean. It has to be dead on center. No leaning to one side, no debris, no dust, no soil, not even 1 millimeter off. It has to be absolutely perfect. And this is how they're doing it. On each side, on each square corner right here, dead on the stone base surface. Okay? Otherwise, if you put it off center just by 1 millimeter, that's it. The obelisk is shattered. Now, get this. What's this about using 1,000 men? Was this an unreliable account taken from Herodotus? I should do some more reading about him. Absolutely. No way in hell. We made them just by using wooden mallets and bronze chisels and dolerite rocks that polished it using sand or crushed rocks. No effing way. I'm laughing on the inside, okay? Whoever made these unbelievable yet well-preserved structures knew exactly what they were doing. Why? Because they've done this type of design and construction 1,000 times before. Their technology greatly surpasses ours. No way in hell can we compete against them, whoever they were. You've got to remember that a high degree of control was applied with it when it came to erecting the stone object. Every single one of them would have been perfectly placed dead on center to stand the test of time today. and I'll show you what I mean. Now, have a look at this. Please analyze it, check it out, read it, absorb it. You're going to love what I'm going to say next. The inscription along the side walling is brilliantly precise. Look at the straightness. Look at the curves, the grooves, the dots, the sharpness. Was it done by a laser stone cutting tool? Now, I've demonstrated a photo of it in a previous video, but I'll go on. That used some vibratory sonic tone to measure the precise depth to engrave this kind of writing. Now that is very, very interesting and plausible, may I say. The way I see it, each obelisk must be shaped precisely and polished before the inscription is added to the side walling. And that is practically true. It is. You have to do the hard bits first. You got to shape it, polish it, get it right, and then you can inscribe whatever you want to say on each side of the wall. And then you can transport it and put it on display for a practical purpose. Now, this is an unknown obelisk found in Luxor. As you can see, it's a lot of wear and tear through time, caused by weather and all sorts of other things. And as you can see, this obelisk has engraved inscriptions. I'm not sure what it's saying actually. It might be saying something translated in English, but I doubt very much, and I will say this, I doubt very much back in the ancient times we knew how to speak, how to communicate using this type of writing. Now, I'll show you what I mean. This is a Sahur granite architrave. And as you can see right here, look how precise these symbols are engraved along the surface of this stone granite. Really precise. It's laser cut using depth precision. It could be that the depth could have been, say, 5 millimeters just below the surface, and then engraved each of these symbols along the surface there. And so precise, so articulate, so brilliant, may I say. And if you have a look of a few of these symbols, such as this bird, for example, that could be a falcon and that could be a vulture. That's oxidation from copper. They smelted copper to pour it into these drawings right here. If they were using smelted copper to emphasize the writing, the symbols written in stone, obviously it was something of great importance back then. This symbol could mean several different things. It could mean a couple of things. It could be communicating something as a whole, not necessarily as a vowel, a consonant, or a conjugation of words. And I doubt it, this could be translated in English. If it were to be translated in English, it would have to be translated individually, symbol by symbol. That's what I mean. Wouldn't that tell you how old it truly is? So, check out those hieroglyphics. I'm not here to judge a book by its cover, but the experts, quote, know how they were made, and we are not permitted to argue against their assumed judgment. Who said? Because they can. Remember, assumptions do lead to shit. This is the fallen obelisk, and as you can see, look at the engraving. Look what it's symbolizing. Can you translate that into English? Seriously, can you translate those individual symbols into one word, one syllable, or one letter of the English language? I don't think so. How do they know what they're really saying? Is it actually representing the royal kings and queens of the ancient times? 4,000 years ago? The way I see it, I don't think so. I think it's done by a machine. No way we could have carved that. And besides, how do we know how to write symbols? How did we know back then, in ancient times, how to write symbols, how to communicate using symbols? How do we know? That question has not been precisely answered. Aside from my yabbering, let's look at these symbols. Do these symbols have multiple meanings other than what's been translated into English? Who wrote them? I find the symbols cryptic, don't you think? Like it has a double meaning to one symbol. But whoever these beings were from a far, far away galaxy communicated this way, using symbolism. That was their language. And I wouldn't be surprised that's their universal language. They say mathematics is a universal language, but I believe that this is a universal language. And I wouldn't be surprised this may be the markings of the beginning of quantum physics information. Now that's very interesting. And these are the different types of obelisks that have been transported and placed around the globe. And as you can see, the way I said, I think each obelisk right here has a unique imprint, a unique inscription engraved on the side of each side wall. Each one is telling a unique story, and it's really amazing how they did that. And the symbols, I reckon, as I said earlier, do represent a cryptic meaning. Not a vowel, not a verb, not an adjective, not a conjugation of words, not a consonant of vowels. It's not. It's representing something that applies to quantum physics and quantum mathematics. It does. And say, for example, the falcon, the bird, would have a different meaning applied to what they understand. Not how we understand it through the primitive aspect, but they understand it through a higher knowledge aspect. We're talking about the consciousness aspect, the bigger brain, the biggest brain in our head, right? The awareness aspect right there. And yet we are still scratching our heads over encrypting this language right here. We are still trying to get a grasp over what are they saying about each of these obelisks right here. Until this day, there are no inscriptions in any way, shape or form on any wall in any town on who actually built the obelisks. There is no blueprint inscribed on any ancient wall in Egypt, and I will say that is absolutely true. This is a diagram of the lowering of the obelisk in Luxor. This demonstrates how they took it down, and damn it, as I said in a previous video, in the unfinished obelisk, they cut it in 3 pieces. They cut the top bit off, they cut the bottom bit off, and left the middle bit alone. And then, using wooden boxes and pallets, they wrapped up each one of them, transported onto a steamer, and shipped it over to Paris. And then they put the whole piece back together again, like Humpty Dumpty. But they couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again because he was a fragile egg. And it's true with this obelisk. This obelisk is fragile. How could they do this to a fragile artifact? Damn it, they bloody wrecked the thing. Anyway, here's a side view of the magnificent construction that was built by the ancients. I call them the ancients. I'm not talking about human ancients, us. I'm talking about the ancient beings from another world, far, far away from here. We're talking about 2 light years. We're talking about 10 light years away, that built this beautiful ancient monument with precise engineering, with digital technology that has something to do with quantum physics. And the way they did this is just absolutely incredible. It just mind boggles me how they pieced it together with time efficiency. They were very efficient and they did it fast. They weren't slow, they did it fast. And they had the blueprint for it on their iPads. That's what we call it, on their iPad computer. It's just, it just marvels me how they did it back then. And even using digital technology, their artwork, how they sculptured these artifacts at the bottom, as you can see right there, using a digital laser device that imprinted whatever image of who they were back then into a scanner device. And they did it, they engraved the whole thing, they chiseled it in whole thing in with one block. One large block, and the machine, the scanning machine, using a laser device, just chiseled with precision. And there is one thing I will tell you. You may have been aware of an article that talked about this, that they discovered, I think it was Akhenaten, one of the statues of Akhenaten. When they analysed his face, they noticed the centre is perfectly aligned from the top of his head right to his chin. They also noticed that on both sides are perfectly the same, precise, not even a millimetre of an error there. Both sides are perfectly precise. And they believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, they believe they used a laser device. And they did. Absolutely ingenious there. Whoever these obscure, mysterious, yet non-threatening beings lived a culture that communicated with symbols. They built marvellous objects with stone. They are not, and I repeat, they are not primitive-minded beings compared to us. And the palaces in Karnak were not created by us at all. They were all built to perfection. The technology that was applied that created this dynamic structure was not done by us. It was done by them. Now, here's $1 million question. Why were these structures built in the first place? Okay. I'm going to give you an appetite before the main course. The main course is coming, so stay tuned. You're going to like this. It's a little teaser. You ready? Okay. I want you to imagine this obelisk right here to be what they used back then, talking about thousands upon thousands of years ago, as this. And let me give you another hint. This. So, let me say this again. Imagine the obelisks back then were used as this and this. You know what they are? That were this. I'll let you ponder that for a moment. Regardless of conventional shot-in-the-dark theories that don't offer obvious clues to unfold the real answers on why these structures were built in the first place, the only way we might have achieved this kind of construction during those prosperous and abundant ancient times is to have formed the right technology to implement precision machinery accompanied with digital technology. In the next video, I'll be exploring the smallest yet reserved pyramid situated in the Giza Plateau, the Menkaure Pyramid. That's all for now.